The gay thing, it's a particularly exposed nerve for me. First of all, let me say I was raised by amazing human beings that I love very much, who are wonderful people. Who I'm eternally grateful for. But I was raised very, very conservative, very, very religious, you know? And my sister is gay. And so she came out to me when I was 15 years old. And when I say that she came out to me, that's really an exaggeration. I got really drunk for the first time and I coaxed it out of her. I got drunk with my buddy Mike, who's still one of my closest, dearest friends. He's a physician now. He lives in this like 3-story townhome with a rooftop deck and a gas fireplace. He's in Denver, and I live in that van outside. So we're both doing really good. We're about the same, and so. It was the first time I got really drunk. And listen, I want to be clear about something. I had drank before, okay? I had some warm Zimas in the forest while looking at a penthouse that I found behind a shopping center that some dude probably wanked to in his car, you know? But I had never been forget who you are drunk, you know what I'm saying? And we did it, buddy. We went for it. We got some gin from his parents' basement, and we mixed it with cherry 7-Up. And we just got Waffle House drunk, you know what I'm saying? Just scattered, smothered, and shit-faced. It was a lot. And she goes, "Your sister's on the phone." And I didn't know it, but they had been talking to my sister in the living room when I went in there, and I didn't notice because I was hammered. And so I was like, "Okay, I'll just talk to you later." So I grabbed the phone and I go, "Jada." And so I should back up. My sister's 11 years older than me because my parents are pro-life. And so, thank goodness, I guess, you know. It's good that there's some of you. I was a surprise and a mistake. And so she hands me the phone and I go, "Jada, hey." And she goes, "Mom and Dad think you're on drugs." And I was like, "Well, I'm not yet, you know. This time next year for sure." I was like, "No, I'm just hammered." And I can't stop laughing, you know what I mean? I'm just giggly. You know the first few times you get drunk and it's just euphoric and you're warm and fuzzy and giggly and you feel so great and you want to tell everybody you love them and it's just the best feeling in the world and you spend the next 30 years trying to recreate it and you can't. Now you're just drunk in a theater on a Thursday. I know you guys. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh. I was like, "I'm just drunk." She was like, "Yeah, that's what I figured." I told her that you're just being silly because you're with Mike, and you guys are always silly when you're together. And I was like, "Well, that's true." She's like, "I think they believe me." And I was like, "Well, thank you so much, you know." She saved my ass. She has many times after that. And I was just feeling it. I was feeling so, my boundaries were, my walls were down, my ego was, you know, I was just so vulnerable and authentic, you know? And I'm trying to use all the white lady words, and I was gonna share my heart space, you know? But I was like, I'm going for it. Now's the time. Because me and my brother had been talking about it, that we thought that she might be gay because she had a Subaru, and so. It's not the whole thing, okay? It's not all of it. It's a big part of it. But so I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, you know? And I was like, "I just want you to know I love you, no matter what." And she was like, "Well, I love you no matter what." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I love you no matter what. I love you no matter what." You know? And after I said it about 80 times, probably around 80, she was like, "Are we talking about the same thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, Subaru." And she started crying. I started crying. Mike started crying because he was just drunk. And she said, "It feels so good for somebody in the family to know." because nobody knew. You know, nobody in our immediate family, not even any of her closest friends that she grew up with, because they were all part of that same belief system, you know? And they weren't bad people either. They were people of faith who had their faith weaponized against them into bigotry. And it's more the fault of the people that did it to them than it is to them, you know? And it's still happening worse than it ever has. She said it feels so good for somebody to know, even if it is a hammered 15-year-old. You know? And she said, what do you think Wiley's going to think? That's her other sibling, Wiley. And she said, what do you think Wiley's going to think? I was like, hey, he knows. We've been talking about it for like a year. We saw your car, and and my brother and my sister and myself, we kept that secret for 9 more years. And, you know, I thought we would always keep it a secret. I don't think it ever occurred to me that we wouldn't. And that would have been my vote, to be honest. If, you know, maybe I'm a coward. But I knew that my family would change. And it did, you know? And my parents did not disown her. They did not. I want to be really clear about that. They said, we love you, but this is hard and impossible for us, and we're brokenhearted. And, you know, they did their best in it, but it broke my sister's heart. And it broke mine and my brother's heart, too, because we knew that if it was us, it would be the same way, and that hurt, you know? And but I was over at her house. We were both living in Asheville, where the gay started, and and she called me over, and she handed me this 2-page letter, and she said, I'm going to send that to Mom tomorrow. And I begged her not to, because I'm not as brave as she is, you know? And I'm not as strong as she is. And I knew that my family was going to change, and I didn't want it to. And it was the hardest thing, in obviously in her life, and in mine too. But I tell you this, years later, a lot of things happened between these 2 points in time, but years later, my father got brain cancer. We thought it was Alzheimer's or dementia. We weren't sure. We found out way too late that it was a brain tumor. They told us he had 3 to 6 months. He was gone in 15 days. And my sister dropped everything. Her family, her job, her kid, her own health problems. And she came from 6 hours away, and she sat with this dying man all day, every day, until his last day. And she wet his lips, and she wiped him. And she gave him his medicine. And she showed him unconditional love. And that's the most Christ-like thing I've ever seen anybody do in my life. And that's why it's such a bummer that she's going to hell. You know what I mean? I feel like even the devil would be down there like, God, are you sure? She's so nice. The sister, the Subaru, coexist.